Hi Facebook friends. In a minute we're going to hear the story of Jeanette. Jeanette was arrested on Thursday and her sternum was broken in the process, and so she'll tell us about that. Now, Jeanette's got deep concerns for our country, but something that really impresses me is she also has real respect for the police and for the medical people who helped her, even though she says it as it is about some of the things that were really not on that occurred. So we'll go to that in a minute. But first of all, thank you to everyone who watched yesterday's post. There's been an amazing response, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of views, many dozens of comments and reshares. So thank you. I'd really like to be able to respond to the comments and the friend requests that have come through. Particularly comments where people, and there have been some who don't agree with what I've said in the video and so on, and I want to respond with respect and listen and take to heart, because we all need to learn. But the difficulty is I'm having difficulty keeping up with what's come through, and I have a feeling that that's just going to increase further. And so this is a bit of an appeal. If there is anyone out there who would like to help me, could perhaps do with some coordinators, some people to help me with responding to comments and so forth, and other people who have got skills who can help me cutting stories and so on. I've got 8 stories now I need to tell that I've got footage for, and I'm hearing about more every single day. That would be really appreciated. Just yesterday, one colleague's gotten in touch and he's making a camera available to me, far better than the one I had, and there's another edit suite available and more technical resources. So there's lots and lots of people who want to help. The other thing I'm wanting to say is, one of the wonderful things about what's happening from my point of view is that there is no one single leader. This is people from the width and breadth of the country who are responding because of something that's happening at a heart level. It's a movement, not just some flash in the pan kind of a thing. And it's important that it not be owned by one person. And so I'm thinking anyone who feels the need to tell stories of the real stories of people, please go ahead and do it. But I just made a few notes as I was thinking, some things to encourage people with if you do tell stories like that. Respect people. Look them in the eye and take the time to hear their heart. Just looking at the notes I wrote here. When people say what's genuinely happening to them, that's not misinformation. It's what's happening to them. It's just real Kiwis being real. And so we need to remember that, I think, and it's good for us all. Okay, people who are putting videos together, don't edit anything out of context in order to prove a point that you want to make. In today's video, I'm actually not editing anything at all, and I'm sorry it's quite long. We're pushing closer to the 30-minute mark, but I'm not editing anything that Jeanette says except to insert some pictures that she's hopefully sending me if it comes through in time, that were taken on cell phones and so on. Now, next thing, humility. When we make mistakes, even in what we're reporting or whatever, if there's something that we find to be wrong that previously we'd asserted, let's own that, face up to it, tell the truth. I stuffed up, I said something wrong there, say what it is. People respect that. Nothing to be hidden, let's be transparent. Respect. I love in Jeanette's message how she does respect the police and the medical people, even in the story she tells us. And something I'm trying to learn is to respect people, in some cases, some politicians who've made choices that are not what I would have wanted. Let's try and separate the person from the choice. We don't have to respect the choice, but let's still respect the person. Now, I'm on a journey. I'm still trying to find out what that means, and I think we're all on that journey. Okay. Listen to people's hearts on both sides. Now, a couple of the comments that have come back to me from yesterday's post is, Doug, there is aggression happening. There are people in Wellington who are feeling intimidated. Now, I didn't see it myself, but I'm being told that is what's happened, and certainly it's what the mainstream media has said. Can some of those people get in touch with me? I would like to, though, to talk to people who have experienced it firsthand, not through watching the media or secondhand. We're wanting to hear the stories on both sides, and we're looking for reconciliation and healing here. We're not looking for further divisions. Okay, enough on that. Now to Jeanette's story, and I'm actually going to make this into 2 parts, but part 1 starting now. Now, Jeanette, I'll start off by saying some things that I've talked to anyone I've recorded, and that is a lot of people have a distrust of anyone with a camera, with media, because stories haven't been told accurately, and there's been sometimes things out of context and so on. So a couple of the things that I'd like to do, just from integrity, from my point of view, is make sure people have my own contact details, so there's some accountability, and you've got those now.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'm pledging to do is to be back in touch with the person who I've recorded when we're ready to release the content, to explain how we're planning to release it, and confirm that they're still happy, and where possible too, I'd like to even send the edit. Sometimes it'll be a work in progress at that point, but so that they can see what we're planning and see that we're not using 3 words out of context to tell a different story, sort of thing.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Well, oh, and by the way, did you see my first post? Possibly didn't. Okay.
No, so yeah,
I will send you. I sent my first post out yesterday, and already there's just, I'm inundated with responses. And
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Things.
Yeah. I can probably put you in touch with a few more people as well, because there's a whole group of us that are injured.
Wow, that would be amazing. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, that's my first point of business after this, is to send you that link. But hey, look, please tell me your story.
Okay, so on Thursday, I was at the Freedom Convoy in Parliament. I chose to stand front line because I'm female. I'm quite averse to any kind of aggression, and because I'm a meditator, I'm a very peaceful person, I'm a healer. So I knew that I had got a really good role to play, talking to the police, maybe even negotiating, understanding, calming things down. So I consciously put myself front row. It was my conscious decision. And I met some really nice police officers. Yeah, I saw 2 cry, 2 police officers, both male, with tears in their eyes. I saw a lot looking really confused, not able to make contact, not aggressive in their hearts. I could feel they weren't aggressive, but really confused and being put in a very difficult situation. I really felt for those police officers that day.
Yep.
And all the police officers that I have on my video, none of them are the ones that attacked me. It was a new WPC that came in. So in the immediately prior to me being attacked, I was singing. I heard there was a secret chord David played, and it pleased the Lord. And then I also spoke from my heart to the police officers, asking them to listen to their hearts. Were they feeling uneasy? Did they know that this didn't feel right in their hearts?
Imagine all the people living life in peace. You represent the people. You are here to maintain peace. God lives within each and every one of you, and if you listen to that voice right now, you will take a knee and you will be on the right side of history. You need to join us. We love you. We will not fight you. We will not lift up arms against you. We appeal to your hearts and to your conscience. Think about this, your payslip. You are part of a corporation that no longer represents the people. Voices we entreat, God defend our free land.
One of the things I've learned subsequently, but I didn't know at that time, was that the police officers were there not wearing their hats, and I didn't understand the helmets. I didn't understand the significance of that. And I now understand that when they don't wear their hats, they're working for the corporation. And when they wear their hats, they're working for the public. And I never knew that. And I wonder how many police know that. Oh. And so since that incident on Thursday, all the police around Parliament have had their hats on.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's been good. And there's not been many there. And but I feel it's not only the protesters that are in a difficult situation, it's the police.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, there's more than me affected. There has to be a massive inquiry about this, because this is just not okay. The level of violence has been absolutely unprecedented. Mm-hmm. In all the time I was there, I never saw an act of violence or any abuse towards any police officers. The only thing I saw in my whole time there was a man was dragged out of the crowd, and some people said, let him go. He was going to strike a copper. So the crowd were happy for him to be taken by the police. Oh. Everybody else that I've met.
So when you say let him go, you weren't saying police let this man go. You were saying the crowd was saying let the police take this man.
The crowd was saying take him because he's an aggressor. So the police were letting him go. They let the police take that man.
Yep.
Because that man had reached out to strike somebody.
Right.
But other than that, everybody else I've met, they're like me. They are calm, peaceful people, most likely non-drinkers, tea and scone eaters kind of thing. Middle age. I mean, I'm 59, haven't been in a fight in my life, no police record. They gave me my sheets at court yesterday. It's like, there's nothing there. I've never done anything, Mm-hmm. And in the situation I was in, after singing the songs, we could see the police coming, and they told us just to put, one foot in front of the other to ground ourselves and link arms.
So when you say they told us, you're meaning the other protesters told you to?
Another protester next to me, because I've never been anything like this before. Yep. He just said, look, you're going to need to anchor your ground. And he says, put 1 foot in front and 1 foot sideways. Yep. And to me, it was like, like my brain went, like a tug of war. If you're on a tug of war team, you ground yourself. Mm-hmm. And then we linked arms. So then what happened is, as the police officers came in, we're all stood facing forwards, like I'm facing you. The police officers stood sideways onto me, and a new WPC, dark-haired and very young, got placed.
Sorry, what is a WPC?
A woman police constable.
Oh, got you. Yep.
Yeah. So a new WPC came that I've never seen before, and she was placed sideways on. So I only ever saw the left side of her face, and they all squashed together. So they made a line around us. We're all facing outwards, but I'm
just going to pause you for a minute, because there's things you're doing with your hands I'm wanting to be able to see. Are you able to tilt your camera down so slightly less headroom at the top?
There, is that better? Oh, yep. If I move back a bit.
Yep, perfect. That's great. Thank you very much. Carry on.
Right, so we're all stood facing forwards with our arms linked, but the police officers are stood like this, you see, with their side of the body is facing us.
Yep.
And as the police started to push forward, and I believe I can't be sure how many deep the police were. It might be 2 or 3, but people's videos would show that better than my memory. I asked for help. So I believe in God. I'm not a church-going fanatical, but I work as a healer, and the healing energy comes from God. Mm-hmm. So for me, the natural thing to do is to feel the earth, Mother Earth, and to ask for God to be present with me. And out of my mouth came, God is with me. Mm-hmm. And I felt really strong. I felt invincible. And then it did it a second time. And the police were pushing against me, and they couldn't budge me. It was like I was solid. It was the most incredible experience. And the third time it was said, God is with me. And as I said it the third time, an elbow by the WPC was placed on my windpipe, stopping my air. And so with what breath I had, I said, you are hurting me. She didn't turn to look at me. I've only ever seen the side of her face. So identification is not a problem because she was right in front of me. But then she dropped the elbow to my sternum and then applied more pressure. And so I again said, you are hurting me. Now, I'm a lady that prior to COVID, I was working in the gym workout in the gym every day. I'm healthy. I'm not muscular, I'm toned, but I'm a vegetarian. I've got a healthy body, nothing wrong with me until this happened. So she then applied even more pressure. And I felt my sternum break. It was like, I've never had a broken bone in my life, but I felt the bone break. And so I screamed in pain at the top of my lungs. That's going to be audible on video. And then I said to her, "You've broken my sternum." And she kept pressing. She kept applying more force. And so I went weak at the knees. I didn't quite pass out, but I felt my legs buckle with the pain. And part of me thought, well, that might get me away from the elbow. So I sort of let that happen. The people either side of me were really gentle with me. They were really gentle. Two men, no bigger than me, probably my kind of stature, which were just holding me. One was facing this way, this one was facing that way, but they knew I was taking something, and so they let me. They got my body weight at that time, and I was just getting away from the elbow. So I was starting to feel a little bit of relief, and then my eyes were closed. I was aware of big officers, and they must have been male because I could feel big presences. And they roughly started yanking my arms. Well, I've got a broken sternum, so I'm screaming in pain. And I'm saying, no, she's broken my sternum. I'm injured. And part of me didn't know what to do. I mean, you know, other police trying to rescue me from a dangerous situation, but they did me so much harm. And so I would say there were 3 or 4 of them manhandling me to get me out of the melee, if you like. And then after that, every time they changed me to another officer, I said, "I've got a broken sternum. I'm in agony. I'm injured." And everybody was rough with me, including paramedics. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. I had a paramedic that I told, I've got a broken sternum. I'm in agony. And he insists on lifting me up by my arms. It's just, I mean, as a kid, I trained in first aid. I know you don't do that. I wasn't in any danger at that time. They could have brought a stretcher to me. They could have medically examined me, but they didn't. And then they left me for about an hour on hands and knees on it was like paving stones, asphalt surface, in agony, hardly able to breathe because I've got a fractured lung. I've also got a hematoma behind that. They exerted a lot of force. I got called by one PC when I was first being dragged out. Oh, she's a drama queen.
Could I just also ask too, are your hands or feet tied at all at any of the stages?
No. But partly they did twist my left arm up behind my back to arrest me when I'm not resisting arrest.
Yeah.
That caused me to fall to the ground. I've got incredible bruises, bruises all up under the armpit. And then within about 2 minutes of that, I passed out as well. They treated me appallingly.
Yeah.
And thank God, I mean that literally, thank God that people videoed it.
Yeah.
Because what's been really bad, Doug, is that the next day, I mean, you can imagine when you've been brutalised by a number of police officers.
Yeah.
I had to go report it to the police station. I looked online, and you have to go to a police station. Yeah. So I got somebody to come and pick me up, a lady I don't know, just for a bit of, advocacy, support. Yeah. We went to the police station. They would not let me report it.
I'll just pause for a minute, just so I can get the facts straight.
Yeah.
So we've had the broken sternum. You're pulled out by the police.
Yeah.
You're for an hour. You're laying on the flagstones, basically.
Yeah.
Some paramedics.
I'm not lying. I can't lay. I'm on hands and knees, and I say to them, my hands can't support my body weight much longer.
Yeah.
I was given no care. I don't believe I was medically examined. They might have put one of those things on my fingers. I'm a little bit hazy over that. Yeah. But that might have just been in the ambulance. Now, when I did get into...
Sorry, again, just to clarify, you weren't put in a paddy wagon and taken away under arrest.
No. A male officer said to me, "You have been arrested and you'll be taken to the hospital. When you're discharged from hospital, you're free to go home. You've to appear in court on Wednesday," was what he said to me.
So this is said to you within, half an hour and an hour of the injury.
2 things. One was said within 15 minutes of the injury. That's all they wanted was my name to arrest me.
Right.
But then somebody else came back and said the same thing, but they may have changed paperwork on me. It was really weird, but two different officers said you're arrested. Nobody said you've got the right to a lawyer, you've the right to remain silent. It was all weird.
Yeah.
And the charge on the eventual piece of paper I got was, and it might have been one piece of paper that was taken away and brought back. I don't know for sure. I really wasn't. I'm just managing my pain and trying not to hurt myself. It said I was charged with obstruction.
Okay.
And I said to the WPC, obstruction of what? And she didn't answer me. And then she said, you can ask questions. And so I did ask her some questions, but she didn't answer me again. So I don't know.
So being able to ask questions is all very good, but if none of them are answered, it's perhaps limited usefulness. Yeah. Now,
the other thing that happened, Doug, was that I know I was singing until about 1:30. I know that because I was on my phone. I think it was just before 1 that I turned my phone off, put it in my pocket, linked arms, and then there was the attack. I got to hospital at 3:03. I felt like I'd waited a long time in that position, hands and knees. And so when the ambulance did arrive, I said to the lady, I said, it's been ever so long waiting for you, love. I'm from England, Sheffield. We use love a lot. Why did it take so long? She says, we came within 25 minutes of being called. And in my mind, I'm like, they left me from somewhere between half an hour to an hour without ringing an ambulance, without a proper medical examination. I could have had a punctured lung. My heart could have been damaged. I could be dead.
Yeah. And you're saying that even when the, no, go on.
I've got a bit more. When I got into the ambulance,
yes,
the first question I am asked is, have you got a mask exemption? And the ambulance would not drive off until they'd seen my mask exemption, and my phone was dead. So we sat in a stationary ambulance charging my phone so they could see my mask exemption.
Goodness. Okay. And you said before the paramedics were not gentle with you. This is obviously the ambulance team in this case.
The paramedics did not do. I'm St. John's ambulance trained myself as a 13-year-old many years ago. Right, but I know enough about first aid to know that if somebody is saying they've got chest pain like that, and even if it's a suspected broken sternum, you don't lift them from the ground by their arms. That would be stupid. You could do the broken bone could go into the heart of the lung. They could have killed me. And I was not in danger. Anybody can see the video. I was awake. There was no way I was in danger. A stretcher should have brought to me.
So I'm just going to
into hospital.
I'm just going to make a note now, because we'll be streaming this video shortly, and that's if there's anyone watching this who has video coverage that has Jeanette in it, please get in touch with me, and in due course we'll do a version 2 where we can intercut some of that footage with it. And Jeanette, also after this I'll get you to send me your recordings from your phone so I can use what's relevant, although I appreciate a lot of it's prior to switching it off and linking hands.
It is, but it shows the mood I was in.
Good.
I was singing. When you sing, you breathe deeply. It was a tense situation, and I didn't want to go interfere, and I want to keep everybody peaceful. That's the kind of person I am. And it'll sound odd, but I'm glad it happened to me rather than somebody else. My body can heal. This will heal. I bear absolutely no malice to that WPC. She was a young girl. I suspect she might have been a cadet. I don't know yet. There's not been an inquiry. She was brought in at the last minute.
Now that would mean
she not had the right training. You know, it's not. I mean, she will still be personally accountable. Don't get me wrong. But there's a commanding officer. There's officers on the side of her that could have said, "Hey, love, that's too much force." It's not just her.
Would it also be true to say that because the other police earlier on, you know, during the singing and so on, you were able to actually talk? You said you saw tears in eyes.
Yes,
there was the ability for some connection and empathy. But the group that were involved in the violence were brought in.
They were intermingled within the ones that we'd started. Look, some of the police officers weren't chatty. Some we got no words out of at all. Some were chatty. But there was goodwill there. I felt deep compassion for the place, the position the government put the police in. And what I see coming is, I see this government throwing the police under the bus, and that should not happen. Because the police were there working for the corporation. Somebody else gave the order. There's somebody else higher up that actually needs to be dealt with.
Another point I'd make is, with the WPC that injured you, as far as I can tell, she was part of a group that came in just,
very late, moment before. And my brain's wondering if maybe they were cadets. She was very young.
But I'm also thinking there was no opportunity for her to build any rapport with any of the people.
No, she'd have been terrified, love. She'd have been terrified. There were far more protesters than there were police. But we just held our line. We're not pushing forwards. And one of the things that's really frustrated me is TVNZ, TV3, they're portraying us as the aggressors. I've been there for a lot of the time. I haven't seen a single person aggressive, apart from that one that I mentioned. Somebody got taken and the crowd said, "You take it. He's out of order." And so I have been heartbroken, I would say, by the coverage of the media. I've tried to speak to the editor of the Herald, can't get him on the phone. They're happy to put my picture all over the papers and sell newspapers, but they won't tell my story. It's not on. The newspapers are supposed to be, is it the third right they call it? Is it the third estate? That's it. They're supposed to keep the government accountable. But when you have massive sums of money, $50 million paid to media, they're no longer functioning in that role as third estate. This government needs to be kept accountable. Otherwise, more things like this will happen. And I will be speaking up for the police if this government tries to, drop this at the police's doorstep. Yes, from what I've seen, there are some coppers that definitely need to go and be locked up because there's been some atrocious violence. But there are a lot of good coppers that I'd be happy to call a friend.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, I'm just needing a moment to process. Okay. Thank you, Jeanette. Can you take us on the journey now? You're in the ambulance. What happens after that?
Right. So, in the ambulance. So that was fine. She was good. Paramedic in the ambulance, brilliant. Apart from that nonsense, where's your mask exemption? Really? You're stopping to ask me that? Anyway. And then you get to the hospital. And I got into the hospital, I think it was 3:03, because they do log everything in. And this is the thing. I've been to the hospital twice. As soon as somebody says you're a protester, you see the body language stiffen. You can see it. I was the last person in that waiting room to be treated. I was triaged with the nurse. I explained that I suspected broken sternum.
Just to confirm, how many people might have been in the waiting room when you arrived?
Maybe 15.
Okay, carry on.
In the waiting room, I was sobbing at times in pain. Nobody came to me. Nobody came to check I was all right. I was there with one shoe on, one shoe off. None of the people sat around me said, "Are you all right, love?" 3 people came in through the front door and were seen before me. So I was in the waiting room a long time. The nurse I saw was excellent. Good. To the best of my knowledge, I did not see a doctor. No doctor examined me in hospital. A nurse saw me and kept going back to the doctor. That's not okay. They did me x-rays. I also asked for photographs to be taken of my injuries. That wasn't offered. That should have been offered. That should have been happening naturally, but I had to ask, can somebody do this for me? Because
those photos were taken. We're obviously not going to show those, but it's good to know that they are. Okay, yep.
Great. They were taken, but the bruising wasn't evident then, not like it is now. Now I can show you. I'll show you on my arm. Just
sure.
Oh, I won't show you the boob shot because that might.
Understood.
But can you see?
I can see a bruise there under your arm and in the armpit.
And into here. So really rough. But I've got a bruise that really is about a third of my breast.
Wow.
It's yellow and black.
Yeah. Wow.
I've got, on this side, I've got fingerprint bruises.
Right.
So whoever was on this side wasn't as bad, but this shoulder was you can't see anything, but this is the arm that they twisted me up when I got a broken sternum. It's like, geez.
Yeah.
How could you do this?
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound rude. I've got long hair, but do I really look like, you know, this ragamuffin riffraff people that I have 2 degrees. I was a former bank manager. You could say I'm a retired bank manager. I'm the author of 4 books. I've had my own TV series on TV3. I was a peaceful protester.
Wow. Well, from my point of view, you do not look like a terrorist to me.
No, thank you. And thank you, Doug. You are the only reporter that is prepared to interview me.
Well, it's an honor. You're a Kiwi, and you're my neighbor.
Yep.
Okay. How long were you in hospital for?
They kept me in, I think I was there just until they got the results of the x-ray, and they discharged me saying that the sternum wasn't broken. Oh. And then the next morning at 9 a.m. I got a phone call from the doctor that I hadn't seen, I believe I only saw a nurse. She was in a blue uniform. Absolutely apologetic. Oh, I am so sorry. We misdiagnosed you. Now the specialist has been in. We've looked at your slides again, and you've got a inferior third fracture. Okay, now, so that was Friday morning. And then what are we on now? We're on Tuesday now, aren't we? Wednesday. It must have been, I think it was the early hours of, it was either Saturday or Sunday. Yes. Sorry, can't. 5 a.m. I was in agony, absolute agony. I got a really, really bad pain across the back of my shoulder blades that I've never had before. And I'm in a motel room, and there's only me here. I've not got, you know, mates or family that are here. I came here just because I feel passionately about what's happening and these mandates that are coming down the line. And I realised I can't even get to my phone.
Wow.
And my phone was probably 15 feet, but I couldn't move. I was just in so much agony. And I realised, well, I have to get to my phone because nobody would find me. And if I'm getting worse, people can't even get in the bedroom door.
Yeah.
You know, because it's locked. And so I realised I had to brace myself. So I grabbed a couple of pillows to my chest, and I wrapped my hands as much as I could around my chest. And this pain I felt was just off the scale.
Yeah.
But I got myself to my phone and stood up. I was still in the same pain. And so I rang 111 and I said, look, I just need to talk to somebody. I'm in a hotel room on my own. I'm in a lot of pain. I was in A&E. And I've got a new pain. And I don't know, you know, is this something that could get worse? Maybe my painkillers have just worn off. You know, what should I do?
I'll just ask a question. Is this after the specialist and doctor have rung to apologise and tell you you've actually, it is good. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So the first injury was on the Thursday,
yes.
And I went into hospital directly from Parliament in an ambulance. And then I went home Friday morning. I've got the specialist results. Yeah. So it's about, I don't think it's the next night. I think it's one night later. It's like there's a bit of a gap, but I've got worse.
Yep.
And I think I shouldn't have got worse.
No.
And so on the phone, I talked with her for quite a while, and we decided, yes, I had actually better go have the paramedics at least turn up and check me. And so I managed to walk myself out of the hotel onto the street. I remember it because I got no shoes on. It was raining, so in my socks. I'm getting the paramedics come, and the first things to me they say is, "Where's your mask?" And if you got a mask exemption, I thought, oh God, we're not doing this again, are we? But as luck would have it, I'd got my phone with me. If I hadn't got my phone with me, I'd have probably had to walk back to my bedroom to go get my phone with me mask. It was a farce.
Sorry.
Right. Ambulance staff, good again. I haven't got any issues with the ambulance staff. lovely, lovely, lovely people. Now, when I went in this time, again, this tensing of the body when they hear you're a protester. I'm not a protester. I consider that slaves protest. I'm part of a freedom convoy. But you know, I don't even like the word protester, but you get treated differently. So I was left quite a while before a doctor saw me. All the staff were really nice, all right? But they said to me, I can't have a CT scan without I either wear a mask or I have a swab up the nose. Neither of which I wanted to do.
Yep.
Now, I have good reasons for not wearing a mask.
And what's more, I should say, if you'd had the swab up the nose, you'd probably have to wait for a day or more for the results. If it's
Oh,
swab
wow,
up
I
the
didn't
nose.
know that because I've never had one. Yeah.
If it's the full-on test, yeah, they don't process that on site. Only rats tests get processed.
So they said they wanted to do a CT scan because the pain was a level of 10. I couldn't breathe in or out without it being a 10. I was a mess. So they knew they needed to do a CT scan, but they said you're going to have to wear a mask or have the swab. And I tried to get some legal advice and whatever. In the end, I decided to wear the mask.
Okay.
Because that was just a really practical solution. But then they said when I needed the toilet, I needed to wear a mask to go to the toilet. Well, I've been in the hospital on Thursday and gone to the toilet fine without a mask. Right. So I really thought, you guys, you don't need to do this to me.
Yeah.
No. So in the end, the second time I was in hospital, I spoke quietly to one of the male nurses and I said, look, I haven't got an advocate here. I've got nobody. I've been attacked. I am the victim. I'm treated like I'm some aggressive person. I deserve everything I've got. I haven't done anything. I said, can I show you what's happened to me? And he didn't want to know. He didn't want to see the film. He was a lovely, lovely nurse. No faults with him at all. He said, I'll be your advocate. He didn't want to watch the video. And I wished he'd watched the video. I wished I'd shown it to the doctor that attended me as well. And to say, look, that's what happened to me. Because this label protester was wrong.
Yep.
And so, in long story short, they found a hematoma, small hematoma behind the injury. And I don't know the medical terms, but, it's consistent with large amount of force being applied, all the muscles, everything are damaged.
If I understand correctly, and I'm not medical, I understand that hematoma is like a blood blister inside the body.
Inside the body. And they say it will naturally disperse, so that they haven't prescribed anything for it.
Right.
Yeah. The other problem I have, I don't know, that they wanted to give me morphine, a version of morphine. I think it was Stebarol or something. Now, I know morphine constipates you. That this is the thing, is if you've got a sternum fracture, the worst thing you can do is have to go to the toilet. It is hideous because all those muscles pushing out feces, the last thing you want is to be constipated. And it's like, so I couldn't take the morphine because ultimately the pain would be worse. And the doctor fully accepted. She realized, you're right. So I have to survive on Panadol and ibuprofen, something like that.
Yep. Now we're recording this on Tuesday. It's a blur for me too. How is the pain at the moment? Excuse me.
As I woke up this morning, I would say it was an 8. I really didn't want to move to get out of bed. So I laid there for about an hour, just plucking up the courage to move. It's really chronic, hey? And they've warned me it could be like this for 8 to 12 weeks. It's, I'm hoping I'm going to be a fast healer. I am a healer, so I've got a lot of help as well. Moving around, I can walk around when I'm painkillered up. Sneezing is horrendous. Coughing is horrendous. I mean, heaven help me if I got COVID with this. Geez, I don't even want to go there. But the thing is, you have to cough. Otherwise, you can have fluid build up on the lungs. And I have to make myself breathe deeply. They say, I've got to do that. I have to do 10 deep breaths every hour to really make sure that I'm opening up the bottom part of the lungs. Otherwise, that can lead to complications as well.
What part of the country are you from originally, Jeanette?
From Orewa. And so I can't even travel home. I want to stay here. I am committed to this cause, and I will stay here until we get resolution. But if I did want to go home, I can't travel because the bumpy and it would just be too painful.
And so you're staying in a motel somewhere in Wellington, but I'm also guessing you probably haven't been able to get back to the front line of the protest, so to speak.
Oh, I went back next day.
Oh, okay.
I went back next. I took great care not to be around crowds.
Yep.
But I needed to tell my story.
Yep.
So I got on everybody's phone that I could.
Right.
Because it has been criminal. I'm going to use that word because I mean it. The TV media's coverage, the way they've portrayed that group of peaceful people who are doctors, osteopaths, dentists, firemen, teachers, social workers, teachers' aides. The way that group of people have been portrayed has not been right.
Right.
The things that Grant Robertson has said have not been right. It has been, I've seen no disturbance, no swearing or people spitting at people. There's been none of that I have seen. And there's been a community that worked together. I think there were something like 120 of us that were arrested on that day. I don't know for sure, something like that. But I can guarantee every one of us would have been seriously injured because we were manhandled. We were peaceful. That could all have been done so much better. And the reason that we stood our ground was that we knew that the Speaker of the House, Trevor Mallard, had no legal authority to trespassers.
Right.
Yeah, because that piece of land, not where the Parliament buildings are, but the grass, it's an old Maori pa.
Yep.
And we had the wardens. We've seen the UN document. We know we have the right to be there.
Right. So in other words, that ground is made available to the people of New Zealand and the government on trust from the Maori.
And they've actually given us permission not to be there, but to live there. Not to occupy, but to live. We're living there.
That's amazing. Now, just again, because people will be watching this, any claim like what we're saying now it sounds good, but it needs to be substantiated. If there are people who are the Maori wardens and so on who'd like to get in touch with me. And
I've got a video of one of the Maori wardens speaking and a photo of the document that he presented us with. So I'll share that with you.
The actual security and safety of this nation to tangata whenua, under tino rangatia, under hipakaputanga, and under Te. All those police over there, I have informed, are acting outside their jurisdiction. This court cannot trespass anyone. Rangatane welcomes onto that beehive land. That is not Parliament ground, that is disputed land. You have our permission to be there. We are not occupying, we are living.
I missed a little bit when I filmed him. His first sentence was the document that he was holding up was certified by the United Nations. And then I've got the rest of it. So I'll add that for your viewers to understand.
Thank you. Going back to the medical side, you went and had the CT scan, hematoma determined. What's next? Is there an appointment to see a doctor lined up?
The doctor said, to really take care of myself, which is what I'm doing. And that if I had any concerns whatsoever, to go immediately back.
Good.
She says, you don't mess around with something like this. You did the right thing, dialing 111.
Yeah.
And if I have any concerns whatsoever, again, dial 111.
Good. I would just like to say, from what I'm hearing in my heart, is thank you, medical people, for looking after Kiwis, no matter where they come from. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Now, I've only been in Wellington for 3 days, and I'm actually back from the Hibiscus Coast where I live as we're doing the Zoom meeting now. But I was blown away by the helpfulness and thoughtfulness. And like yourself, I didn't see any aggression, but I saw probably 40 or 50 instances of people saying, what do you need? How can I help you? Be it from clothes, be it from food, be it from free coffees and donuts, be it from a guy driving up with 3 clothes dryers in his van and a couple of generators after the cyclone. Yesterday, as I was packing up, there was a guy saying, well, look, I can't afford to stay in a hotel anymore, but I've come here, and someone said, look, you have my tent. And because but I'd like to ask the question, is there anything that people can do practically whatever way to help you?
The main thing that I would love people to do is this. All of those of us that got arrested, most people were arrested for trespass. My paperwork was different to everybody else's. I was arrested for obstruction, and people haven't really been able to explain to me why that is. They appeared in court on Monday. I was one of those people.
Oh, yes.
At court, we were kept outside. I was kept outside in my condition for 3 hours.
Right.
I had to ask for a chair. A whole other story, Doug. We won't go there. But the bottom line is this: those people are now back in court in March, as I am, and they had to sign a bail form so that they didn't go to the cells, I guess. And on that bail form, they're not allowed now to return to Parliament buildings.
Right.
So these are people that have been traumatized.
Yes.
That are now separated from the community that was supporting them.
Yes.
Not able to tell their story and be comforted within that community. And I feel very, very strongly that what we need is a day of healing. We need all these stories to be told. Yes. And we need these people the police need to allow these people back into the community that we can start the healing. We may be years going through the High Court to get compensation and get this whole story out.
Yep.
Yeah. We need the healing to start now.
Yep.
And so I urge people that are watching this, I urge you to go to Chantal Baker's Facebook page and look at Chantal Baker's raw footage of the 10th of February.
Yep. And
I urge them to write to TVNZ, TV3, and call them out on the appalling, unfair, unjust reporting of situations.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what we need to do to get those people out. We need to do something, but legally, I'm not sure what is the right thing to get those people so that they can come back to Parliament buildings, because I feel that's where they need to be. We need to be together for healing.
Yeah. So perhaps I'll just put a word out there. If there are any lawyers who've got expertise in this area, be in touch as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Voices for Freedom have appointed a barrister for all of us, but in terms of the emotional care after the trauma and the psychological care, nothing's being done. We're making this worse. And to me, that's the next step. I really do believe, a bit like, the aftermath of Christchurch. And people might think, okay, that's a bit excessive, isn't it, comparing it to Christchurch? Yes and no. If you saw your wife or husband being dragged out by the hair, how would you feel? We've got to do some serious healing here. If my partner had been with me in that crowd, number one, I probably wouldn't have a broken sternum, but number two, he'd be in jail. Yet he'd be an innocent man that's normally peaceful, but triggered. The level of peace that those people were able to practice and the level of that atrocity, they are an incredible group of Kiwis. We should be proud of each and every one of them. I
think you're suggesting that these folk are heroes, not
They are heroes. Yeah. They are heroes. If the police had behaved like we behaved, we wouldn't have had an issue. If Jacinda Ardern had come to talk with us, where's Jacinda been? Where have any officials been? Nobody has come to talk to us.
I think I saw one headline where Jacinda was saying that these protesters, I should look it up to quote it, but it was along the lines of they don't want to engage, they don't want to talk. And I don't think that's true from my experience. I think
it's absolutely not.
They've been wanting to talk for a year, and that they are not getting an audience with our government.
I spoke to 2 police officers on the front line, different times, and I've got it all on video, saying, look, I've got a document that shows we have a legal right to be here. Would you like to look at that document? Would you take it to your commanding officer? They both declined.
Okay. I've run out of things to say. I'm kind of feeling speechless here. But it's kind of coming back now. What I like to just say from my point of view is New Zealand, we need to talk and listen to each other. Now, Jeanette has just spoken with us, and it wasn't a 10-second soundbite. I don't know how long this recording is, but it's probably 2 cups of tea worth to watch. But Jeanette, we've looked you in the eye, and you've spoken from your heart about what happened to you. Now, oftentimes, if there is a narrative spoken which is different to the government's narrative, it's labeled as misinformation and conspiracy theory. Now, we're all able to believe things which are completely right, completely wrong, or a mixture. But when someone talks about what happened to them, and you can see it in their eye, I believe generally they are telling the truth, and we cannot call what you've said misinformation, and we cannot call it conspiracy theory. I think we have to call it what it is, and that is a Kiwi, my neighbor, who has gone through something that should not happen in New Zealand.
Should not happen.
And I'm looking to the day when it won't happen again. And I know that there are many, many, many Kiwis who feel that too.
Yeah, I do believe that, I was put in that place rather than somebody else, because if it had been the older Maori lady behind me, she might not be here. And that good will come out of this.
Yeah.
Good will come out of this.
Excellent. Well, I'll probably edit and stop the recording here.
Yeah, cool.